Hello everyone, welcome back to Space for Edit. On this channel we talk about all the things that they don't teach you in design school, but you kind of need to know in the real world. And today's video is sort of a reflection, kind of lifting up the curtain of all the misconceptions about commercial interior designers. I wanted to talk about the good, the bad, and the ugly side of it all. Just throwing a quick little disclaimer out there before we dive deep into this. This is strictly talking about commercial interior designers. Obviously, a lot of things can be applied to residential interior designers, but a lot of these things I'm drawing from my own experience. I have been a commercial designer now for 5 to 6 years, as well as I know a lot of my colleagues will share these views and these insights. Obviously, it can be applied to a residential designer, but these points really apply to commercial interior design. So if you're interested, then let's get onto the video. So I think we will start with the ugly, then move on to the bad, and finish up on a positive note with the good, because at the end of the day, all the good things about this profession and being an interior designer, no matter residential or commercial, really outweighs all of the bad and the ugly sides of the day-to-day things. So let's start with the ugly. Okay, so this is really specific to being a part of a bigger picture, of a bigger team, of a bigger company. It is easy to feel like you are just another cog in the system, especially if you are maybe a junior designer or have recently started and you haven't found your feet yet. It can be quite depressing almost at times, just because it's so fast paced. There's so many people running around doing different kinds of things. There's management, there's design team, there's creatives, there's project managers, and there's just not that kind of personal touch. Clients can be very nasty, very unprofessional, and very ignorant, and that's just something that you need to kind of accept and master dealing with just from day one. Unfortunately, as the saying goes, client is always right, and that is definitely a mantra that we all live by. Just because client is the one who's gonna pay the bills and client is the one who's going to live in the space, or that is their business. So no matter how nasty people are, you really need to kind of learn to play around with them and become their friend, no matter what. Really, it can be really stressful, can be extremely stressful. You are constantly pleasing everyone. You're pleasing the client, you're pleasing your employer, you're pleasing the team that you work with, you're pleasing your contractors, and you're trying to be nice to everyone, whilst at the same time you've just got so much on your plate. Usually in a commercial design team, you will have a lot of projects going on. Like, I'm talking there could easily be 4 to 5 projects going on at the same time. There might be at different levels, different stages, but there is going to be a lot to take on. So whilst you are juggling all of these things, and as well making sure that you stay hydrated and have a good personal life and make sure the work-life balance is at a good level, it can get a bit too much. But that's something that you can cope with eventually. More later down the line, I think. Once you get a bit more experience, then you just learn to live with it, and you learn to manage your time and manage everyone else's expectations. And the last ugly point that I wanted to make is that it can be quite bitchy environment to be in. It really depends what the team is like and what company you have joined, and especially if you are a newbie, then joining in and kind of trying to tag along with all of that can be quite hard. And also, some people just think that they are better than others. They think that they are a part of this fancy interior design team and they follow all of these fancy designer names and they know all the collections, that, you know, they are invincible. So stuff like that happens, unfortunately, but you know what, you are the one who's controlling it all. If you don't want to spend time with those people, then don't. Find your own tribe. But I'm just here to let you know that that's one of the ugly sides of this profession as well. Okay, the bad things. So these are not like ugly bad, and these are not great to have, but you know, life would be better if these things didn't happen or didn't exist, but we are here to talk about them. First thing that I wanted to mention is do not expect too much praise or appreciation or a tap on the shoulder and well done, because again, it's such a fast pace. There are so many projects to get on with, so it's always like, okay, we've finished that, move on to the next. And that's really coming from both ends, from your employer, from your management, as well as from the client. Sometimes you just can't physically be there when the project is finished, or maybe you've moved on to a different thing and someone else has taken over. It's kind of sad, because I always feel that that's the sort of thing that brings everything together. You get a bit of feedback about how the project's gone and how you've done, if there's any room for improvement and things like that. So again, life would be nicer if these things didn't happen, but they do. So the next point is that there is a lot of responsibility on your shoulders, which again adds to the stress levels and adds to the fact that this job is very mentally challenging, and once it's mentally challenging, it kind of affects your physical energy levels as well. So it's physically challenging as well. I think as designers, we are all a little bit like perfectionists, and we always want to please people and do our best, and just because we enjoy what we do, right? So a lot of this, we kind of bring it onto ourselves, but it is a part of the profession. You need to be on point. You can't take any half measures. If you make a mistake or if you don't double check something and something just goes in wrong, it will always fall back on your own shoulders. So make sure you double check, triple check, quadruple check everything that you send off. One thing that's sort of common in big commercial design companies is that the staff turnaround is quite quick. So people will be joining and then they maybe realize that they don't like something about the company, or maybe they want to carry on with something else, or a different opportunity comes along and they leave. Again, it's not like the end of the world, but sometimes, especially if you are more like in a senior role or even midway designer, this can be a little bit frustrating, because you sort of start to know the person and they're gone already, and you sort of start to train them up and make sure that they know all the ins and outs on how you do stuff, and then they leave, and then the next one comes in and you are kind of back at square one and you have to start from zero and start from scratch. Same goes to, you know, connecting on a personal level. These people, the team that you are working with, are almost like family. We spend so much time of our lives working that these people become your friends, so it can be a little bit of a little negative side effect of just being a part of a big commercial company. So let's speak about the dollars and the pounds and the pennies. The money is not always there. This goes to your salary as well as towards the budget for the project. As far as money affecting yourself as an individual, it is not as well paid. It is a nice and rewarding career to have, but most often you do not get paid enough for all the work and all the effort that you put in. At least that's my opinion. And when it comes to money for projects, your client might not always have the biggest budget to spend, so you really have to be crafty, which is actually a good challenge, and it's quite interesting to look at things from different viewpoints, trying to see where we can save money, and it's all kind of part of the job. But again, all the lovely beautiful spaces that you see on Pinterest and on Instagram and sharing here and there in magazines, it's not always that easy to get to those jobs. And I found this quite frustrating, to be honest, at first, just because I thought, right, I'm gonna come in and I'm gonna design these beautiful spaces, and we're gonna put all of these trendy things in and use beautiful furniture and beautiful lighting, and there's gonna be so many features going around, you know, it's gonna be gorgeous. But for most commercial interior design projects, the budgets are quite tight, so you really need to be kind of crafty. And since we are talking about projects, to end this section, not all of the projects and the concepts that you are working on will go ahead. This really is the reality of the whole interior design and build field, because budgets get approved, budgets get cut, things not go as planned, and the money that was maybe set aside for a project that you have been working on for so long might not be there anymore. It is a little bit of a downer, and I have to be honest with you, that happens often, and unfortunately there's not much you can do about it. Okay, so let's wrap this up with all the good things that I could say about this profession. Let's forget about all the ugly and the nasty sides of it. Like I said in the beginning, the good things really do outweigh all the negativity. And the first thing that I want to talk about it, that the profession and the job itself can be very, very rewarding, especially when things are coming together, when you are going on site, when you are seeing things put in places, and eventually you are walking through with the client, looking at the space, thinking that, wow, this was once in my head and now it is out and about and we are walking through it. How mental and how amazing at the same time. This side really, for me personally, is the one that kind of gives me the fire under my bum and just makes me forget maybe about all the drama and all the negativity that, you know, is kind of surrounded by our job as well. So this is definitely one of the top good things about the profession from my point of view. Kind of tying in with the point that I made before is that we get to play around and mold the spaces where people are going to be living in and where they are going to be experiencing things and making memories and taking photographs and then talking about those memories. I feel like that is a very special maybe side of our profession that we don't always consider or we don't always think about. So yeah, I think this really deserves a mention. Another good thing about being a commercial interior designer is that it can be very creatively challenging but freeing at the same time. So what I mean by that is that, like I said before, you have to deal with budget and you have to figure out how to create things, and it can be very frustrating at times, especially when you have to do multiple revisions after revisions. But at the same time, it's challenging your creative brain and it opens up your creativity to a completely different level that you didn't really maybe think that you can go to. So when those clicks happen, when it clicks in your brain and you think, I can do it this way and change that and add this, and we are going to still have the same effect, that's the best part of it. That's like the juicy bit. So you are always learning, you are always developing, and you are never stagnant. Just because each project comes in and each brief is completely different from the one before, so you need to adapt. As well as trends change, technology is changing massively, which is really affecting our industry and how we design spaces. The whole environmental challenge that we are challenged with all the time, it just makes you step your game up with every single project and every single day, so you don't ever really feel like you are not really learning or not developing your skills. And you get to work with a lot of people as well as on your own, so there is a part of the job that you get to do just on your own on your computer, but then again there's a bigger part where you need to interact and be sociable and ask for help from your team or go on site and work with the team on site. I really love this side of the job, that you get to be an individual designer as well as a team player. Another good thing to mention on this is the social side of the profession. You get to go to all of these beautiful design events, which if you are really into design, then you should be enjoying walking around for 4 hours and watching at wallpaper samples after samples. It's a weird thing, but we all love that, don't we? No matter how long we need to stay in there for. And really just the social aspect, even if it's with your sales reps. So whenever they come in to update you on a new collection or new trends that have come in, it's really just nice to keep in touch with them, learn about them, about their lives. You know, they are people at the end of the day as well. And it's just such a nice little feeling that you've got like your own little design community. And the last thing that I wanted to mention and end on a high is that hard work does pay off. Honestly, it does. And actually, once you got your foot in the door as a junior designer, or if it's your first design job experience, then it is actually quite realistic to climb the ladder and get to a senior role quite quickly. So for example, myself, I started, was it like 5 years ago, and within 4 years I went from an intern, a little fresher that didn't know much about the industry, to being promoted to a senior level designer. So like I said, if you take your chances, if you put in the work, if you are really just keen on your job and you are showing your best, you are showing up, you are helping, you are a good person, after all of it, you've got good communication skills, good people skills, then you can get to the top quite quickly. So all of your hard work does pay off. Okay, so there you have it, a little insight on sort of my brain, what I think about this profession and how I feel about things. Let me know in the comments below if you can relate, or if there's something that you want to add about being a commercial interior designer. And at the end of the day, I think if you are not really enjoying the job and you can't really see past the ugly and the bad aspects of your career, of your profession, then it's probably not for you. Let's be honest, you have to be agile, you have to adapt, and you have to be able to juggle so many things in this profession, especially in commercial design, when you are working with so many different characters and so many different briefs at the same time. And once it gets to the enjoyable or to the good parts of the job, I think it makes you forget about all the negativity and all the maybe things that have gone wrong. And with time, you kind of manage to not ignore them, but sort of accept them and move on. Or maybe deal with them in a lot better way than you used to in the past. So the whole process becomes a lot more enjoyable, and you can kind of find your comfort in this kind of uncomfortable situation. Okay guys, that's it from me today, but if you want to stay on and continue watching, then I've got a whole video playlist of day in the life videos as an interior designer. I also have a video series where I interview other designers, and I actually have 2 interviews there with other commercial interior designers, so make sure you go and check that out. I also hang around on Instagram quite often, probably too much. But if you want to connect on a more personal level, then make sure you go and check out my Instagram as well. If I don't see you in my DMs over there, then I'll see you in the next video. Bye.